Hello everybody, McFluffy Stuff here, and today I want to bring to you our most played deck on Magic Arena right now. We've been having great success with it in Best of 1, we've been having great success with it with Best out of 3, it plays some of our favorite cards, there's a few War of the Spark cards sprinkled in there, and that deck is our Sultai Flash List. Now before I get this video started, I will say we stumbled across it through one of our friends. He sent us a list one day and said, hey, I think you would dig this deck a lot. We have been playing it like crazy. We absolutely do love this list. I also want to say if you like the deck list, please leave a like, comment down below as to what kind of changes you would make to the list, and subscribe to the channel to get further notified when we update or upload new MTG Arena deck lists. With that out of the way, let's get into it here with Sultai Flash. So we have 3 Augur of Bolas, 4 Thought Erasure, 4 Tyrant's Scorn, 2 Assassin's Trophy, 4 Growth Spiral, 3 Chemist's Insight, 2 Ritual of Soot, 3 Vraska's Contempt, 4 Frilled Mystic, 2 Awakening of Vitu-Ghazi, 3 Commence the Endgame, and for our mana base here we have 4 of every Sultai colored duel, 1 Memorial to Genius, and 1 Island. So for new cards here we have Augur Bolas. This card is fantastic for those of you who didn't get to play it way back in the yesteryears when it was originally printed, I believe, out of M13. When it comes into play, you look at the top 3 cards, put an instance or sorcery card among them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom. This card is pretty lights out. As you can see, we play a ton of instants and sorceries. This card will very rarely whiff on you. It's also a very good blocker for decks like Burn, for mono white. It can be okay versus mono blue. It can also be good in mid-range matchups when their Jadelight Ranger doesn't get above a 2-1 or their Branch Walker doesn't get above a 2-1. You can cleanly block those for days. Thought Erasure, not much more to say about the card that can already be said. Ripping a card out of their hand, having that hand knowledge is fantastic. Surveil 1, very good. The 4 Tyrant's Scorn. This card is really strong. The destroy a creature of 3 or less is powerful. The returning a creature to its owner's hand is more of a trick for you than anything. Being able to return your Augur of Bolas in response to them trying to kill it, to be able to trigger its ability again to look at a card or pick a card out of the top 3 is good, and also being able to return your Frilled Mystics to give you tons of counter spells feels really good. I do love this card. I do like cards normally that offer you flex or choices, just because they're a little more flexible in what they do. 2 Assassin's Trophy is just a good card. It hasn't seen a ton of play in Standard since it's come out, because giving your opponent the land is normally bad. With all the walkers running around, I feel like this card is that much better right now, because there's so many threats in Standard that just have to be dealt with. And Assassin's Trophy normally deals with that cleanly. 4 Growth Spiral, just a good Standard card right now. Being able to draw a card and ramp is always fantastic. Even just sometimes cycling it to draw a card is really strong. 3 Chemist's Insight, not much to say there. 2 Ritual Suit, the premier board wipe for the Sultai color wheel. Not having access to red or white does kind of put you at a disadvantage. Ritual Suit will normally get the job done though. Or Soot, excuse me. 3 Vraska's Contempt, same thing, not much to say about it. Frilled Mystic, probably our favorite creature in Standard right now. A 4 mana 3/2 counterspell with legs is fantastic. Now the 2 Awakening of Vitu-Ghazi. I love this card on so many levels right now. A couple things to realize. If you put your 9/1/1 counters on it, it does become legendary, so you cannot play another one immediately after, or one of your lands will go away because it changes its name to Vitu-Ghazi. 2. If your opponent tries to kill your land with something like Vraska's Contempt or a Tyrant Scorn, you can Tyrant Scorn the land back to your hand just so you don't go down a land for the turn. Also, being a 9 mana or a 5 mana 9/9 essentially does end games very quickly with Shocklands around. And 3 commence the endgames. When I first saw this card, I honestly thought it was crap. The more I've played with it, the fact that it can't be countered is what makes it so strong. At instant speed, drawing 2 cards, even if you're just making like a 3-3 or a 4-4, most times is either a really solid chump blocker, or it flat out blocks and kills their creature cleanly. Later on in the game, when you're safe and you're commencing the endgame at the end of their turn to make a 7-7 or an 8-8, ends the game very quickly. Your Awakening and your Commence are really your beatdown spells in this deck. Very strong cards. Now to take a look at the sideboard here, we have none. As you can see, we've really only used this in best of 1. I don't think constructing a sideboard for this deck would be too bad. If I were to, of course you would want your stereotypical 2 Disdainful Stroke. You'd want your 2 Negate. Actually, we'll just do this while we're talking about it right now. So you got your Negates here, at least 2. Your 2 Disdainful Strokes. Card is very strong. No reason not to. I would honestly play 2 Eldritch Reborn. There's a ton of walkers right now that are really relevant, and sometimes being able to just get rid of a problematic creature, even though your deck can deal with them pretty well, might give you a threat in the late game as well. I would recommend 2 Hostage Taker. It deals with things, again, like Hydra Crisis and that. I don't feel like we need to keep beating that dead horse here. I would play 3 Thief of Sanity in this deck. Normally you're pretty good at protecting your threats. You already have a ton of threats that they have to be ready for anyway. I think Thief of Sanity is absolutely just icing on the cake. Actually, I would go for this deck instead of Cast Count. I would go for Moment of Craving. There is still a lot of red. This deck can stumble versus red occasionally. Not too often, but it does feel bad when they absolutely land their bomb spell and you just sort of get blown out. It does feel bad. The other card I'd add to our sideboard is 2 Narsets. This card is so strong versus control. It's such a securing card, shutting off things like their Commence the Endgames, their Chemist's Insights. Feels great against the deck like Phoenix or Arclight. I mean, being able to shut off their draw spells means they run out of gas quite quickly. I think this is actually a very solid sideboard for this deck. I will say, as you have seen so far, we have really played this in best of 1 the most. We have used this in best of 3 though without a sideboard and have won a lot of games. This deck has so much power behind it. It is absolutely insane. So with that said, I hope you liked the video. If you did, leave a like. Comment down below any kind of changes that you would make to the deck, and subscribe to the channel to get notified when we update or upload new MTG Arena deck lists. With that said, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace.